They say that time is a circular cycle, and no more so is that the case than here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. 30 years almost to the day it happened again. A Rahal has been bumped from the Indianapolis 500. Let's talk about it. Let me start off this video by saying this is not my fault, Kyle. Now, it's very important to note that even though you work in the media, you do have favorite drivers growing up. And for Kyle, he's a younger guy, 21 years old. His favorite driver growing up with Graham Rahal. So now he gets to work in an environment where Graham Rahal is still continuing to drive at a high level. But I think you're allowed to continue with your favorite driver throughout the year. So this has been a tough day for him, there's no doubt about it. But I think I started off the month on a wrong note because when he got into town, we went into the little soda shop down here on Main Street in Speedway, and behind a big stack of things, I found this. And if you don't know what this is the, you haven't been watching our history segments, this is the 93 RH1 Chevy. And unfortunately, this is the car that Bobby Rahal got bumped in 1993. Now this has road course wings on it, but this is the same car. And we were walking out of the soda shop, and I just kind of quipped to Kyle, what would happen if this is a bad omen for the month? And unfortunately, it was a bad omen for the month. But to make you guys all feel a little bit better and Kyle a little bit worse, here's some secret spy video I obtained of Kyle's reaction to Graham Rahal getting bumped from the Indianapolis 500. And this is absolutely unbelievable, honestly. You know, I started this video off about talking about the time being a circular cycle. But, you know, on a 30-year anniversary, 1993 to 2023, for this to happen again, the thing that happened to the father happens to the son at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I mean, this is going to be Indy 500 lore that we're going to be talking about for years and years and years. And there's a lot of intricacies about this that we're going to get into later. We haven't even talked about the pole position yet. So let's do that right now. Let's take a look at how they qualified today, both for the last row shootout and the Fast 12 shootout. And so we know the results of the row 11 shootout already. Graham Rahal on the truck going home. Christian Lundgaard on the inside of row number 11. Same spot on the grid he started in last year, but a lot faster speed this year, 229 miles an hour. Stingray Rob for Dale Coyne Racing with Rick Ware Racing in the center at 229 miles an hour as well. And Jack Harvey on the outside, bumping his teammate and son of his car owner, Graham Rahal, out of the field. We'll be talking quite a bit about Jack Harvey later on in this video, but I want to go back to the Fast 12 today. And roll one, pole position for the Indianapolis 500 is Alex Palou. Next to him is Rinus VeeKay, continuing an incredible streak of front row starts for Rinus. And on the outside is Felix Rosenqvist in the Aero McLaren SP number 6. Inside row 2, what a great day for AJ Foyt Racing. We'll be talking about that later. Santino Ferrucci at over 233 miles an hour. Pato O'Ward in the center, and Scott Dixon. The past 2 years he's been on the pole. Hasn't worked out for him all that well. He rolls off 6th outside of row 2 this year. Row 3, who was my pick for the pole, didn't even get into the Fast 6. Alexander Rossi on the inside. Takuma Sato in the center. And Tony Kanaan in what is allegedly his last Indy 500 on the outside. Row 4 sees the inside, and defending winner Marcus Ericsson. In the center is Benjamin Peterson, the most impressive rookie at the Speedway this year. And on the outside, Will Power, qualifying with his car number, where he started. And yes, indeed, comment section, there was a Penske in the Fast 12, but he will qualify 12th. So let's start out with a little bit of spice, as if this video hasn't been spicy enough. The last row shootout is dumb. There's no doubt about it. I said this in 2021, I'll say it again. The fact that Jack Harvey, just because he didn't have a time, because his time was erased, because for some reason we've decided to change the rules here at Indianapolis, where not only you can't go to a backup car anymore once the cars have gone through tech once, which I think is ridiculous. The Rahal team was trying to switch to a backup car last night. They were told they were not allowed to do that. We need, frankly, I understand that the drivers are an important part of this deal. They always will be, always have been. But the rules need to go back to the car qualifying at Indianapolis, not the driver, because we'd alleviate a lot of these silly problems. The team should be able to roll out as many backup cars to try to qualify for this thing as they want to. I think it's silly that they were not allowed to. And frankly, if I'm Graham Rahal, I'm pissed off about that. I should also be, if I'm Graham Rahal, pissed off that the fact that I nailed the first run, qualified for the race, wasn't able to get in a backup car to begin with, then wasn't able to cool my car off as properly as Jack Harvey was able to, and I also wasn't allowed to go out and re-qualify even though I was in the starting field. I think that's wrong. So, I think if we're going to have bump day, and we should have bump day, as I'm sure you can see through the social media numbers and everybody talking about this, is extremely important for the Indianapolis 500. I want to be very clear that I am not advocating for bump day to go away. However, we need to make it more traditional. It needs to be probably a whole day, if not a whole day, at least a couple of hours. Give the teams opportunities to actually legitimately qualify for the race and get rid of the last row shootout. Nobody should be safe on day one. It should be the fastest 33 cars in the field, no matter what day they qualified. Okay, now that I've gotten that out of the way, let's say some positivity. Number one, I thought Jack Harvey's team was absolutely brilliant in how they handled this particular situation. The fact that they cooled the car off, used an extra qualifying run to go out there and run around slowly, cool the car off, I think was a great loophole in the rules. Great for Jack Harvey's team. Not a great, the loophole probably should be closed, but it was a great use of that loophole, as we've got a military plane buzzing the track right now. That's Doug Bowles and Mark Miles and Jay Fry coming after me for talking about the last row shootout. Apologies, gentlemen. Please don't send the Apache helicopter after me. But yeah, Jack Harvey's team, I think, handled the situation brilliantly. To go out and get a read of the car and then put fresh tires on it and bump into the field, I think that was fantastic. And equally, I mean, everybody knows the situation with Jack Harvey. I don't need to go back over it. But in this situation, Jack Harvey stepped up, did exactly what he needed to do. And God bless America, he's in the Indianapolis 500, and he did exactly what he needed to do. That took guts. There's no doubt about it. I mean, that was as gutsy, as legendary of a bump day performance as we've seen, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of, his competitors couldn't defend against him. Jack, in this situation, stepped up and showed why he's in this series, in my opinion. So many people ask that question so often these days, but I think today, if you're a Jack Harvey doubter, at least look at this. He got in the show under extremely, extremely adverse circumstances. Graham Rahal, the disappointment. It's unbelievable that we are talking about this, at least from Graham's perspective, because you think about last year, yes, sure, Harvey and Lundgaard struggled in qualifications, and luckily there wasn't a bump day to have to worry about, but Graham was solidly in the field last year. So to see his struggles today have been very curious. And looking at the straight line speeds of the Rahal cars, I think it's obvious that there's something majorly wrong with the cars. You look at, especially having the fast line shootout right afterwards, they were essentially 10 miles an hour down on everybody else, which is just, in terms of straight line speed and in terms of this era, how does the car have that much drag in it? Now, whether that's mechanical drag, aerodynamic drag, wrong gearing, I have no idea, but there's something dragging those cars down on the straightaways, and that's caused this situation to occur, in my opinion. And Graham Rahal, missing his first Indianapolis 500. He's qualified for every race he's attempted since his rookie 500 in 2008. We presume he's going to sit on the sidelines. I'd be very, very, very surprised, though I wouldn't be shocked if he did buy his way into the field somehow, but I just don't think so. I think, the most you're going to see of Graham Rahal will maybe be his livery on the 44 car or maybe the 30 car. But past that point, I just don't see a scenario where Graham Rahal buys his way into this field. I know a lot of people are going to speculate that, but at least at this point, I don't think that's going to happen. Let's talk about the Fast 12 a little bit, shall we? I actually enjoyed the Fast 12 format this year. However, I'm gonna make a caveat. I think the format's right. Cutting down to the Fast 6 and having the Fast 6 go back out. I think that's exciting, but I think it's too many cars. I think you need to go back to the Fast 9. I think 12 is just too many, and quite frankly, let's be honest with ourselves. If someone qualified in row 1 or row 4 the day before, do we really think they're going to step up that much to be in the Fast 6 anyway? I would say probably not. So just from an efficiency standpoint, from a legitimacy standpoint, and frankly, if you only had 9 spaces, you might have a little bit more action to get in the Fast 9 on Saturday. I just don't think you need 12. But outside of that, I think I enjoyed this format. I've always enjoyed the pole shootout. I think, you know, in lieu of not having a track record, and I'll get to that because we're getting very close to an outright track record. We did set a pole position track record here today. It's pretty good. AJ Foyt is for real. Michael Cannon, if that guy's salary isn't through the roof, I hope AJ Foyt got him on a couple years retainer for sure, because that was a huge difference for AJ Foyt Racing. Benjamin Peterson did 235 miles per hour in the morning warm-up, could not back that up during qualifications, but Santino Ferrucci will roll off on the inside of row number 2. That's the best qualifying performance for an AJ Foyt car here at the Speedway since 2001, when Robbie Gordon was on the outside of the front row. So just, I mean, this is fun. I think it's going to be fun to have the AJ Foyt Racing cars in legitimate contention. Santino Ferrucci's never qualified or never finished outside of the top 10. This is the first time he's qualified within the top 10. And so with only 3 guys to pass, I wonder about Santino Ferrucci. McLaren was down a little bit. Felix was still fast. Felix is on the outside of the front row, but we saw drop-offs, especially from Rossi, who didn't even make the Fast 6. Pato O'Ward didn't really look like he was ever in pole contention, though the car looks pretty fast. I want to talk about Rinus VeeKay. Kyle pointed out that he's having a very Marcus Ericsson year at the 500, and I would tend to agree. Been fast all month. Looks good in traffic. It's going to be about the car holding together. Now, he blew the top end of the engine off today. They were luckily able to repair that for qualifying, got out and qualified P2. So if Rinus can, not have any mistakes, if his engine holds together, Rinus VeeKay is going to be in contention for the Indianapolis 500. And I know I said that last year, and he crashed first out of the race. But I think Rinus is looking strong this year. I think he's going to learn from his mistakes. Ganassi, the team that has been so dominant here in recent years, and in many ways they were still dominant today, but not with the same drivers we've seen before. Dixon, Ericsson, and Sato all had trouble managing tires. We knew tire management was going to be a huge thing going into qualifying. We saw that today, but Alex Palou set a 235 mile per hour lap on lap 1. That's the fastest lap. I've said this a few times. It's the fastest lap turned at the Speedway since 1996. The second fastest official qualifying speed ever behind Arie Luyendyk. It's a pole position speed record. In fact, the first 2 cars broke Scott Dixon's 1-year-old pole speed track record. And now that we're talking averages of almost 235 miles an hour, we're starting to have that discussion of when is the track record going to fall. 236.9 is the track record. So a little bit of a ways to go still, but we are creeping up on it. And with development with Honda and Chevy, who knows how much further this engine formula is going to go. And Alex Palou. I said this to him because I believed it, and he agreed with me, is that I think he's had the car to win the last 2 years. It's been circumstances that have taken him out of it. Inexperience in the duel with Helio Castroneves in 2021, and unfortunately he got Dixon in the pits. Same thing that happened to Scott Dixon happened to Alex Palou last year in 2022 that happened to Dixon in 2021, which was he stayed out too long, a yellow came out, he ran out of fuel, was at the back, and had to claw his way up, got a top 10 finish, but it wasn't the result that I think that car was capable of. Now Alex Palou is in the same position that Scott Dixon has been in the past couple of years. Can he convert? I think he can. He's definitely capable. He's shown extreme talent here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and Alex Palou, I think, is going to be a lot of people's favorites for the Indianapolis 500 1 week from today. And as we talk about track records and 235-mile-per-hour laps, we figured it would be a good opportunity to take today to talk about the evolution of speed at the Indianapolis 500. No one knows when exactly the first auto race took place, but chances are it was sometime around when the second automobile rolled off of the assembly line. In the early days of the automobile, it was quicker to walk, but speed quickly came. And by 1909, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway had been built. Ray Harroun was victorious in the first Indianapolis 500 in 1911, where he averaged just under 75 miles an hour, while the fastest cars were reaching speeds near 90. But it wasn't until the seventh running in 1919, where the 100-mile-per-hour barrier was broken by René Thomas. It then took over 43 years to shatter the next significant speed barrier. In 1962, Parnelli Jones broke the 150-mile-per-hour barrier at the Speedway in the car his Agajanian racing team called Old Calhoun. It only took 15 more years to break the last significant barrier broken at the Speedway, the 200-mile-per-hour barrier. It was the gas man, Tom Sneva, aboard the Norton Spirit, driving for Team Penske in 1977, who went where no man had gone before at the Speedway. It took another 15 years to reach 230 miles an hour, officially broken in time trials for the 1992 race by Roberto Guerrero in a Lola Buick with a lap of over 232.6 miles per hour. 4 years later, the ante was upped by the Flying Dutchman, Arie Luyendyk, setting the fastest ever lap at the Speedway at 237.4 miles per hour. Regulation changes in the following decades have kept speeds well below the track record. But last year, we saw the fastest speeds since 1996 at Indianapolis, when Scott Dixon qualified for the pole at a tick over 234 miles per hour. Is Arie's track record forever? Will a car ever lap the Speedway at 240 miles an hour? Can the 250-mile-per-hour barrier ever be broken? One thing's for sure, only time will tell. So what a day this has been. Bump day drama, a legacy, famous name going home from the Indianapolis 500. We're going to party like it's 1993. Monday practice tomorrow. We're going to see everyone in their race trim. It's going to be insane. This was probably one of the wildest practices of last year, say for Carb Day. I'm expecting very much more of the same. We're really going to know tomorrow, or at least have a really good gauge of who are the contenders for the 107th running of the Indianapolis 500. Thank you guys so much for watching our coverage all week long. We've got a very special starting grid presentation that I cannot wait to show you guys. You ain't seen nothing yet. Thank you for all the support, and we'll see you in the next video.